Good evening. I'd like to call the Monday, September 13th, 2021 North Augusta City Council study session to order. Good to see everybody. Thank you for being here. And at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Clifford.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So we have 3 items on the memorandum for tonight. So the first will be the items for the City Council meeting next Monday. The second will be the department details presented by the department heads. And lastly, the mayor's matters presented by Mayor Williams. So with that, I'm going to go ahead directly into the draft City Council meeting for next Monday. And I'll start off with item number 5, which is an annexation, which is ordinance number 2021-12, to change the corporate limits of the city of North Augusta by accepting the petition requesting annexation by the landowners and annexing plus or minus 3.03 acres of property located at 1295 West Martintown Road and owned by MB Jones Oil Company Incorporated. Ordinance, first reading. And so if you look in your study packet, you'll see that this is I believe a gas station that is on Martintown Road north of I-20 heading towards the Meriwether District, still in the city limits. And this business is asking to be annexed into the city, and the city staff agrees with this annexation and recommends annexation. So this will be the first of the items for the planning, or correction, from the Planning Commission over to City Council for this particular meeting. So I'll pause for any questions from the City Council on this one.
So this is the existing property that Greg, that's
yes, sir.
Already there. Okay.
All right, that's a fairly straightforward one, but again, that because it's an ordinance, it'll be a 2-reading item. The next item we have on under new business is item number 6 under zoning, ordinance number 2021-13 to amend the zoning map of the city of North Augusta, South Carolina by rezoning plus or minus 7.25 acres of land owned by S&H Enterprises, Aiken County tax parcel number 013-20-03-004 from industrial to TC thoroughfare commercial. Ordinance, first reading. This is a parcel of land that is right near the industrial park, and this is to support the addition of a Kia dealership, car dealership there. If you all are familiar with where the Hyundai dealership is being built out and been paused for quite a long time, this is just further down Route 1, right near the entrance to the industrial park, and this is where the old Toyota dealership was that they are now taking down for this purpose of putting a new car dealership in. Again, we think this is good for the city, and the staff supports this zoning request and this ordinance. So I'll pause for any questions from council on this one.
Jim, just I guess real quick, I mean, I'm for it, but I've never heard of the thoroughfare commercial. That's a new one to me. Is that pretty consistent with what the other land in front of it is zoned as, or is it?
It is, sir. If you under one of the attachments in your study packet, if you look on Jefferson Davis Highway, you know, all of the gray parcels are zoned industrial, but the ones that are fronting Jefferson Davis Highway are all zoned thoroughfare commercial, to include the Hyundai dealership that's there at the corner. Okay. So this would be consistent with the zoning associated with the dealerships that are on both sides of the road there at Route 1, and this puts us in compliance, or puts them in compliance with the rest of the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on item number 6? All right, we'll move on to item number 7, ordinance number 2021-14 to amend the zoning map of the city of North Augusta, South Carolina by rezoning plus or minus 4.45 acres of land owned by the city of North Augusta, Aiken County tax parcels 007-07-06, and then the 3 parcels are 003, 004, and 005. From general commercial and R14 collectively, large lot single family, to P public use. Ordinance, first reading. So some background on this one. This is known for the public as the Flythe and Seven Gables properties on Georgia Avenue. These are city-owned properties, and my intention is to present a zoning request to the Planning Commission as per the City Council's guidance to me at our last City Council meeting. So this coming Thursday, I'll be presenting to the Planning Commission our city's request to rezone those 3 collective parcels to P for public use zoning. So I understand that's going to be a well-attended event. We'll have a lot of citizen participation in that event. It's not in your packet for this ordinance, but my intention, if time allows, is to get this through the Planning Commission on Thursday, and then at that following Monday City Council meeting is to be able to provide for you a first ordinance for zoning. Are there any questions or concerns on that item? All right, hearing none, I'll move on to item number 8, which is under Finance, Resolution number 2021-35, designating an authorized representative and contact person for purposes of the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. So this is a fairly new item, and this was brought about by MASC, Municipal Association of South Carolina, recommended that all municipalities in dealing with ARPA establish, in writing, a authorized representative and contact person separately. So this is trying to keep it in best business practices with MASC guidelines, and this would be a resolution where the council would name the city administrator, namely myself, as the authorized representative, and our finance director, Cammie Hayes, as the contact person for the American Rescue Plan Act funding that we anticipate we would receive later this year.
The earlier resolution was for they're having the account that the money would go into. This resolution is to be able to designate you and Cammie as the contact person.
That's correct, sir. And so just to put this on the table in front of the council as well, this does not vest the finance director or myself with authority to just spend the money out of that account. Those decisions about how that money is allocated is a council decision. So this is strictly I hate to say a housekeeping or administrative item, but this does not vest any of your staff with the authority to operate without the council's approval for the spending of that ARPA money.
And Governor McMaster did make the decision to go ahead and get the state to ask to draw down those assets, but we're still a month away probably.
That's at least a month away, sir, but my understanding of the problem is the same as yours, is that the governor was going to move forward on the formal request from the state of South Carolina to the federal government.
And that was a problem we had before that was kind of in limbo. So now, good.
That's correct, sir.
Are we any closer to figuring out what we can use the funds on, or are we still waiting on some other cities?
I think we're constantly refining, Councilman Presnell, what the options are, and we are consistently looking at options about what other municipalities in South Carolina are doing with their funding, and also municipalities across the river in Georgia. So I've been in contact with Columbia County and Richmond County on their options, and obviously we've been in conjunction with the city of Aiken and Aiken County on some of the things that they're looking to do. But beyond that, Rachel Moody's been in contact with a few other municipalities across the state to get some ideas about what is permissible and what is not permissible. But I would say broadly, what I would expect to present to the council at some point in time is some requests that would be initially infrastructure heavy. So unless there are any other questions on that item, I'll move to item number 9 under Information Technology. This is resolution number 2021-36, a resolution authorizing the City of North Augusta to accept the quote from one of the vendors that's to be announced to improve the audiovisual system in council chambers. And Rachel Moody will be able to talk this one a little more in depth.
We posted a request for proposals about 3 weeks or so ago publicly for folks to respond. If you remember, I think it was the fiscal year 20 budget, we set aside some money to improve council chambers for streaming capabilities. This was pre-COVID, and we had something totally different in mind, and moving to streaming capacity because of COVID, our IT staff did a phenomenal job in terms of hooking us up in this room for the streaming component, we've added many cameras, and I think everyone agrees that when you view our meetings streaming online, the visual is just fine. Folks can watch us quite clearly. It's the audio and the sound that we struggle with. And of course, as you know, on council and as our planning commission members and BZA members have experienced, we frequently have difficulty projecting to the large screen, to the monitors on the dais, and then of course for any staff folks that sit down here. So in 2020, because we had to pivot due to COVID, we handled a few things in-house, then we went virtual, and we held off on many capital projects. We never did implement a new streaming system. So we took a step back and evaluated what works, what doesn't, and we decided to go a different route. And so what we've done is requested assistance, turnkey operation, one vendor to come in and improve our sound quality at our mics and everyone here at the dais, improve our sound booth up there where you see Ricky working out of, and also the visual part, meaning the screens at your desk, and then of course our projector for folks to see who are here in this room. We've received 3 proposals. We are not done scoring yet, so we don't have a recommendation tonight, but by next Monday we will have the winning contractor selected, and it will come to you all for approval. We timed this with the hopes that we could have everything complete by the end of the year. So the visual in terms of what we're seeing in the room won't change, but the audio should increase tremendously. So we understand that it's a struggle sometimes to hear when you're watching online, and we also understand that it's a struggle sometimes to speak directly into the microphone or remember to turn it on. And so we're looking at an option that will allow anyone in our IT booth to be able to operate that remotely, turn volume up, turn volume down for those that project a little bit more than others.
So the cricks in our necks will go away now, right? Okay.
Yes, sir. At least I hope so.
I think it's fantastic with us moving toward the live stream, and we're tying everything into that now with the public power hour and where we're moving socially. I think it's critically important that we have the audio to go with the visual now. So that's a good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. So unless there are any questions on that item, we'll move to item number 10 under economic development. So that's resolution number 2021-37, authorizing the city administrator to renegotiate the parking operating agreement. And so for the council and for our viewers back, out and about right now, this is not going to be a specific resolution about the nuts and bolts of what is going to be the end state of this agreement. What this resolution really will be is to vest the city administrator the ability to negotiate terms with Greenstone on parking, because as we are focused on the next build within Riverside Village, we believe the apartment complex at Parcel K will be the next one to go. And in order to incentivize that to move forward, we're going to have to work out something when it comes to parking, because there's not enough parking spaces that would be able to fit on that parcel going forward. So I would envision that we're going to have to upgrade and update the parking agreement that we currently have that was negotiated in 2017. And so what we'll need to do is to provide this resolution, which allows for outside investors who are potentially interested in moving forward with this apartment complex to see that the city is open to negotiating on our overall parking structures down in Riverside Village. But again, what you will not see next week in this resolution is a nuts and bolts analysis of X number of parking spaces or X amount of cost associated with these parking spaces. This is strictly just to allow the city administrator to enter into negotiations, which would be finalized and then turned back over to city council for final approval. Any questions on that item? Okay, under item number 11, community promotion, resolution number 2021-38, a resolution to authorize funding for downtown streetscape amenities. You have a copy of this resolution inside your study packet. What I would point to you is I've had that initially written as fairly prescriptive, and I suspect that the next resolution that you're going to see next week will be less prescriptive, in that it'll say streetscape amenities, but not be specific to benches or to bike racks. You know, we want to be able to have a sit down with North Augusta Forward and the Merchants Association for downtown to be able to take the budget that we're starting with and to allow them to help us shape, you know, what outcomes we're trying to achieve with this first $25,000 in this resolution. So that's going to be the only change specifically that you're going to see for next week. Is it'll be less directive in nature. It'll be a little more broad.
No, this was what we discussed, I guess, a few weeks ago. I believe it was with Avery about, you know, the flower pots, the trash cans, that sort of streetscape, correct?
Yes, sir. So I think broadly when we talked about amenities, we were looking at the hanging flower pots, the trash cans, the bike racks, and I think I'm missing one other one here. But there were 4 amenities that were listed, and so ultimately we want to make sure that benches. Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know why I don't have that, you know, tattooed on my brain right now, but that's benches is certainly one of them. And so ultimately, we want to have the folks that are in receipt of these, you know, or the users, be able to shape the outcome more effectively than I can do it from my chair here in the city. So this really just gives us a broad latitude to put this money towards amenities, you know, hardscape amenities for the downtown area. And I think this resolution will get us moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I think this is very exciting. I think as council, one of the things that we have committed to is the revitalizing of our downtown. And it's going to be real nice to be able for citizens to see a box check that we said we're going to do something, we're doing it. So this is fantastic, and I think it's going to allow Jim and Rachel some flexibility to work with Main Street and North Augusta Forward to make it pick what needs to be done. So I think this is very positive and something council y'all would be proud of as far as getting us to this point. So thank you for that.
And also kudos on I saw the Facebook post earlier about the crosswalk at Pine Grove and Georgia Avenue.
That's all Tom.
Thank you, Tom. Well, that'll help. That's been a thing of discussion, so that's great that we got the state behind us on that. So I think that'll help some of the accessibility and walking and all.
And I presume, Jim, your discussion with North Augusta Forward, I know this might sound silly, but we talked about who's responsible for emptying the trash cans and watering the plants and that kind of stuff.
That's correct, Councilwoman. We still have to iron out a lot of those details. You know, obviously with, you know, the city's trash collection timelines, it doesn't do it, you know, 7 days a week. So we're gonna have to work out with some of the merchants about, you know, how trash is going to get emptied, because ultimately an overflowing trash can is worse than no trash can. So we'll have to work through some of the finer points on that, but I'm confident we can figure out what the way forward is. All right, unless there's any other questions on item number 11, I'll move to item number 12 under Parks, Recreation, and Tourism. And this is resolution number 2021-39, authorizing the construction of the Riverside Village Boat Dock. And I'm staring at you, Councilman
Why is
President.
everybody looking at me?
And what I'm going to do is the man of the hour, or the gentleman that can explain this best, is Rick Meyer, our PRT director. And Rick, you can either take it from here or at the podium, your call.
All right, what this resolution will actually do is authorize Cranston Engineering for engineering and landscape architectural services for design and permitting of a floating dock. And typically, South Carolina DNR will do plans when you do a dock on the river as such for this, but their workload has them so covered up that they highly recommended that we use Jim Cranford and Cranston Engineering for this project due to their experience with work on docks on the river, including what you see on the opposite side, on the Georgia side, 5th Street Marina that they designed over there. So that's what the resolution will do. It also will identify that the funding for this contract will come through the watercraft tax funds that the city of North Augusta has $100,000 will be required to put the money up front from the capital projects fund and be reimbursed for this project.
Didn't the county also have some money they could match for that project?
Yes, going forward, once we have a design, there's more money out there for us to go after.
And Rick, I think I was hazy on this myself when I was talking to the mayor earlier today. So this contract is strictly for design and permitting, does not include the actual construction of the
That is correct.
boat ramps
Yes.
or the boat docks.
Yes. You would ask me that, would you? And anticipate? Yeah, no. Good question. They are asking for 60 to 120 days for design. So, obviously we'll move as fast as we can. That is the problem. You just said it right there. Bob would know that. The Corps of Engineers could be, could be the factor in what takes 60 to 120 days.
So tell us the time frame. So 60 and 20 days to do that piece, and then what's next after that?
After that, we get a design, we get a cost, and we contract someone to construct. And, we've reached out. I think I've shown you in the past the dock that was presented by Crescent Boat Docks. A good look at what it might look like, what they'll design. And but they don't actually install it. They construct everything, but then you've also got to pay someone to install the dock on the river. So there's three parts to this project: the design, the construction of the dock, and then the installation of it.
So our goal is to get it done before the river event in 2022, right?
I got that. Yes, I hear you loud and clear.
And this may
Thank you, Rick.
this
Yes.
may be just what you were saying, but will the ultimate outcome of the pool have an impact on how it should be designed?
Absolutely.
And so I guess what I'm wondering, I know we don't want to delay it, but is this the time to design it
Yeah.
with that,
Well, I mean,
with that
even when
what
they,
if out there?
Another thing we can throw at them and say, well, we just put this new dock up there, so
Right.
you can't lower it.
Well, the other thing too, I mean, that area of the river is actually pretty deep. When they did the drawdown, it was mainly river north because some of that old wall was still there, and that was on ground. But most of the docks along the river club were still floating. I mean, yes, it was real low, but it's fairly deep right there. So even if we had to extend it out another 15 feet or so, it's fairly deep in that area right there.
You want to share anything, Jim? Okay.
Rick, will you have any input design with Cranston, or is it basically this is what you have to do?
No, we'll have input. We can show you what.
One thing I'd like to see incorporated, I'm a big, of course, powerboat guy, but, we do have a lot of kayakers and canoes, and I know there are some things you could put on the backside where they could, paddle up on. It's like a floating surface. I'd like to see, if we could do something like that to encourage, some more kayak canoe traffic down that way, because generally they stay up to the rapids and they just load and unload in Norfolk, at the boat ramp. You don't really see them coming down too much, but I think, if we do a dock with that in mind, that would maybe encourage some of that as well too.
Okay. Anything else?
All right, Rick, thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, we'll move to item number Lucky 13, Engineering and Public Works, and that's resolution number 2021-40, authorizing a professional engineering services contract for the Greenway at Cypress Drive culvert replacement. And Tom Zeser will talk this item.
So I reported several weeks ago about the culvert failure under the Greenway near Cypress Drive. We engaged Alfred Benesh Engineers in Augusta to do a preliminary study and assessment of that pipe failure, and they've completed that work and have provided a recommended scope and proposal for final engineering design services for the replacement of that culvert under the Greenway. So in 2016, we City Council approved a resolution to extend on-call service contracts to 3 engineering firms for stormwater design services. So, and W.R. Tool, who is now known as Alfred Benesch, was one of those firms. And so this resolution is to authorize a contract with them to prepare the final design documents for bidding out of the culvert replacement. So it's the reason, as I said, we engaged them to do the preliminary work, but the city code allows us to has a $10,000 threshold up to which we can contract work without council authorization, and so the previous work was under that $10,000 threshold, so that's why we didn't come to you previously, but this contract will be over that threshold.
Tom, are you looking at an open cut or slip lining?
Neither, actually. The suggested or recommended procedure is to actually bore a new pipe under the greenway. So hopefully we'll be able to keep the greenway in service. There will likely be intermittent closures, but hopefully we can keep it in service for the bulk of that work.
Great, that's even better.
Yes.
Thank you.
Questions?
Thank you, Tom. So for the council, that concludes item number 1 on our agenda, which is the city council meeting.
Jim,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rachel.
there was an item that was left off of the agenda that I just wanted to preview them about. We'll also have a resolution for you all to consider. We plan to make an application to the Municipal Association for a Hometown Economic Development Grant. It's a $25,000 grant that does require a 15% match, so that's $3,750. We will be applying for Vibrancy Enhancement for downtown as we continue to work to redefine our downtown and improve the physical physical structure. We are requesting funding for murals, public art, small signage grants, and just in general enhancement of the outdoor areas.
Thanks, Rachel. Good catch. So again, no guarantees on that, but we're hopeful. I think we're going to have a great grant package. Rachel and the team do a good job putting these things together, and I think we'll have a competitive grant application going forward. Okay, with that concludes item number 1, and I'll move to item number 2 if that's okay, and we'll go into the department details. And so we'll start off with Cammie Hayes in Finance.
I just have a few updates for you this evening for utilities. We have a Cycle 1 disconnect this week on Wednesday and Thursday, and next week we have a Cycle 2 due date on Monday, the 20th. As far as a budget update, we're nearing completion of the budget cycle as far as preparing the draft for City Council, so that is anticipated to be prepared this week for council discussion that is to take place next week beginning on Tuesday, September 21st. After that draft is reviewed and information is obtained from City Council, we will then finalize a proposed budget, and that budget is placed on our website. We will also publish a public notice as required in the newspaper, and we will then hold a public hearing at the end of that notice period for citizens to provide input to City Council, and then we will move forward with adoption of the budget ordinances. For our property taxes, wanted to give you an update just in case any citizens reached out to you. We did mail certified letters at the end of last week, and so those are for real property owners who have not yet paid their 2020 tax year notices. So those are collected in the 21 fiscal year, and that's just letting them know that if they don't pay by a certain date, we will then move forward with posting the property, and that's where the stake and the notice goes onto the parcel, notifying them of their delinquency, and then it will move forward to the property tax sale. So this gives ample notification leading up to that tax sale as required by the code. And that's all I have this evening.
Thanks, Ken.
Thank you. Next we'll have James Sutton for Public Services.
Good evening. I want to want to talk about an assessment that was conducted on one of our booster stations, Clay Street Water Distribution Systems booster stations located off Martintown Road. AECom was authorized the bid proposal to go ahead and do an assessment on that booster station that was installed in 1974. It's about 47 years old at this point in time. They came back with a recommendation after looking at the mechanicals and the electrical components at the station that the station needed to be upgraded. With the new ARP money that's going around, there's also some other avenues that have been opened up for utilities through the state of South Carolina, where it's given us some access to some additional funding. At this time, there's an estimated cost of $2.7 million to upgrade the station. And as of this week, we're submitting an application to the RIA, which is the Rural Infrastructure Authority, to request some assistance with cost associated with the project of $500,000. So with that and some other avenues we're going down, we're hoping to reduce as much cost as we can to have this station upgraded. Whenever we get all the information, the data collected, and the cost and all the grants and funding sources, we will bring it through administration, who will present it to council for hopefully authorization to upgrade the station. Background on the station, as I indicated, is 47 years old. It is one of the critical components to our water distribution system. It supports the medium level system. It pumps water up to our tank sites and distributes it throughout the upper reaches of the city above Martintown Road up through Belvedere. It fills the water tanks up at Smithfield and 5 Knox Road, Smithfield located over by Paul Knox High School. So it is a very critical component to our system. So it's functioning, it's doing fine. The main concern is the age of the station and being able to obtain parts and pieces for it as we move forward.
So to interject here with James, I would tell you that, as we look at our infrastructure requirements, this is definitely a top 3 item when we look at infrastructure going into kind of our deliberations or councilman personnel. So I would, we're going to wait and see what James can come up with on kind of external funding sources to see if we can get that cost down a little bit. But ultimately, this is a likely candidate for ARP funding that the council will see sometime this year.
Do you have any questions? In addition to some utility work, we're going to have our wastewater collection crew staff that's going to be working cleaning the interceptor main that runs parallel to the Savannah River up around River Oaks. This is the backside of Hammond Hill subdivision. We're going to clean and televise approximately 1,000 lineal feet of pipeline. We had a little bit of a collection stoppage in it last week, so we're going in to inspect and making sure that we don't have reoccurrence of any problems out of that main. We should have further details about a week's in, and hopefully crews will be able to get some good results out of it without anything major coming to light. Yes, sir.
Is most of that, is that an elevated line running through there?
No, sir. We have some underground infrastructure. There is a couple of elevated lines along the Greenway Trail and up towards that River Oaks.
Okay.
Yes, sir. But this line here is underground.
All right, James, thank you. Next up will be Tommy Paradise from P&D.
Yes, sir. In case y'all hadn't heard it already, Thursday night we'll have the Planning Commission meeting. We're expecting a regular long meeting, so if you're watching from home, I have plenty of snacks ready. There's a Regional Housing Consortium meeting on Wednesday. We'll be attending that, both myself and Dr. Crawford, Chairwoman of the Planning Commission. We'll do that virtually. And the Arts Policy Committee meeting is meeting Thursday as well. We'll attend that virtually. And the best news I think that I can give council is a little over 6 days and 13 and a half hours, Cully will be back. So there'll be some semblance of normalcy, hopefully back into the planning department. Any questions?
Thank you, Tommy.
All right, Tommy, thank you. Next will be Chief Thomas, Public Safety.
Before Chief speaks, I just wanted to say the Housing Consortium meeting that Tommy is participating in. If you remember when Dr. Molnar came and spoke to us about the affordable housing resources that the Lower Savannah COG has, this is our first entree into working with them. So I've hooked Tommy up with them. They'd hoped to have an in-person meeting, but due to COVID, they've decided to make it virtual. But this is our first opportunity to get in good with that group and to continue working with them, information sharing. And I know that Dr. Crawford is particularly fond of and a big proponent of affordable housing, so I'm happy that the both of them are able to participate. But I just want to make sure that you all knew about that follow-up, and in the future, as there are other more live and in-person events, we'll certainly let you all know when they do that.
For public safety, one of the things we've done is apply, obviously, for the grant, the DUI grant, and that's upcoming, which will be announced next Monday. We've got a pretty good chance, so they'll release all the municipalities and the counties that were eligible and select some of those people next Monday, so we're looking forward to that. Station 1 update, you can see that the project is running on schedule. We've got steel going up and got some great pictures that we've looked at and walked that site several times, so that's a great thing to see. And the block work should begin next week, so we're moving forward and fast on that as much as we can. The Border Bash is this Friday, and it's at SRP Park, and I think it's the event that happens every year, obviously, between Georgia and South Carolina, but it'll be held at SRP Park this year from 3:30 to 11:30, so it's a long time, but we'll have people there monitoring that. I think we have a football game Friday night, so we're real busy in that regard.
Chief, I know everybody else on council is familiar with it, but tell me about the grant award for DUI opposition. What exactly is that, since I'm fairly new about it?
Okay, it's a grant, there's a federal grant that we applied for it, and if we receive it, we already have a grant officer that will actually go off in October, so this is a chance for us to pick up. We applied for 2, we can accept as many as we want, like 1 or 2, I should say, but it's 100% funded for 3 years.
Thank you.
So to pile on with Chief, unfortunately, just the timing of the way the grant is disposed of, we'll find out on the 20th of September or thereabouts whether we were successful or not, and the grant starts 1 October. So Chief's current position is he's going to take existing public safety officers, move them out of their current duties and assignments and put them in the DUI grant positions, and then we'll backfill those with new public safety officers that we'll hire off the street. And we'll have to have as we go into the budget season, we'll talk about long-term funding strategies, but this is a great opportunity to take care of basically adding 2 additional officers to the force for little to no cost for the next couple of years.
Thank you.
Next we'll have Rick Meyer back from PRT.
All right, good news tonight is we have 1191 registered participants in our fall sports programs, and these numbers actually exceed our 2019 fall numbers, so those are good news. The second item is we have concluded interviews for open positions, and hopefully by early October, PRT will be back to full staff, and we'll be excited about some new folks coming to work. And the last thing I have is a reminder that the Wrecking Crew Miracle League Field Committee will hear presentations this Wednesday from JLA of Augusta, Land Plan Group South Firm out of Columbia, and Wolpert out of Charlotte, North Carolina. The committee will be selecting one of these 3 firms to begin design work on the North Augusta Miracle League Field. Thank you.
Rick?
Yes.
Is Jack-o'-lantern Jubilee still on?
That will be. You're stealing my thunder. I'll go ahead and get to that, Councilman.
I didn't know.
Eric likes to jump ahead a lot.
All right, let's go to back to Tom Zeser for DPW.
So yes, as I was already preempted by Facebook, my only announcement was about the Pine Grove, Georgia Avenue crosswalk signage that we, city crews, are installing this week, and hope to have that unveiled by this Thursday. To be clear, that project is in support of North Augusta Forward's Main Street initiatives and at the special request and encouragement of Mayor Williams. So, but we were glad to be able to get that permitted through SCDOT, and hopefully that signage will improve the walkability and pedestrian safety for downtown.
Thank you, Tom. You know, I just want to say for the citizens who are watching, in government entities, you hear stuff about, yes, we like something, but we can't do it. And it's nice to hear, yes, there's an issue and we can figure it out. And I really do commend our administration, Jim and Rachel, and Tom Zeezer's department, because they said, okay, we aren't going to accept that. What can we do to go back to DOT and make it work? So for citizens, government does look for ways to make things happen, and this is a perfect example that's going to benefit the citizens who are crossing over Georgia Avenue. So thank you all for that. It's very, very, very positive.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. And our last staff update is from Kayla from HR, since JD's out of town.
So currently we are recruiting for most of the same positions that we've had. We've got a communications technician, firefighter, grounds worker 2, public safety officer, and we have a new one this week was a trades worker for streets and drainage department. And we have our utility workers and our vehicle operators for sanitation. All of those can be found on northaugusta.net/jobs.
And for our citizens back home, just to put it in more common terminology, our communications technician is a public safety dispatch person. So we're looking for a number of positions in public safety and our public works and public services right now. So thanks, Kayla. Appreciate it.
I think Councilman Brooks has a question.
I have a
Yes, sir.
I have a question regarding Bergen Road traffic light and Martintown Road. I know the bases have been installed. Do you have any idea when?
I don't, but I'll turn around and look at Tom, see if he knows something.
Which year? Okay.
So is it fair to say, Tom, that we've had some supply chain issues as far as getting the parts, at least from SCDOT, to get them put up?
Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Councilman. All right, so the last but not least under department updates, and unfortunately, I'll take my kudos from the mayor on Main Street because I'm prepared for the not kudos on Jack-o'-lantern Jubilee. So we've met today with our committees, and based on a number of factors, we've determined that we're going to cancel this year's Jack-o'-lantern Jubilee and push to next year.
Let me just jump in. As disappointing for citizens, for all of us that this is, I just want to let you know 3 things. On October the 16th, which is Saturday, the Department of Public Safety still having their trunk or treat event. And while we're comfortable with that is a drive-through, right, Chief? So that's a totally different example than 20,000 people downtown. So that's still going on, so that's going to be important. Then you continue to have the third Thursday event, which is this Thursday, and then one in October. And again, that's done by a non-city entity, okay? So that's different than the city. And the third thing is October the 29th, the Green Jackets are hosting an outdoor movie event. Again, that's going to be outside, Disney movie, Hocus Pocus. But again, that's a non-city event. So that's why there are some things out there. So I just want to let people know there will be some activity, just not the Jack-o'-lantern Jubilee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And subject to anyone's questions, I'm going to turn item 3 back to Mayor Williams under Mayor's Matters for his updates.
Thank you. Just want to highlight a few things. First of all, the Public Power Hour. The next one is going to be a week from tonight. It'll be September the 20th at 5 p.m., which is 1 hour before a city council meeting. And as always, if I'm talking to the live stream people here, as always, please email us with a topic in your name so we can put you on the list. So the next public powwow will be next Monday, September the 20th at 5 p.m. We have set the date for our next Meet the Mayor. Will be on Thursday, September the 30th at 6 p.m. at the Living History Park. So there will be information going out on our website as well as my mayor's Facebook page, which is www.northaugusta.net/mayor. That site will have that information about Meet the Mayor. So that will be coming up on September the 30th. I'm just going to kind of read this to you because there's one other event happening on this weekend. It's not the football game. It's going to happen the morning of the football game, and that is going to be the Trash Bash. So on Saturday, September the 18th, we're having our first annual Trash Bash at the Border Challenge. This is an event sponsored between Keep Augusta Beautiful and Keep Aiken County Beautiful. As Mayor of North Augusta, I've challenged Augusta Mayor Hardy Davis to see which city can turn out the most volunteers to pick up trash around on the Savannah River. It's a wonderful asset for both cities, and we need to ensure we keep it clean. It will be from 9 to 11. All volunteers, please show up at the Sharon Jones Amphitheater, probably 8:30, and to be able to get the information of where we're going to actually do it on the river. But I need all citizens' help, okay? I've reached out to all the school systems, high school, middle school, all the students who need service projects. This is a great opportunity because the losing mayor will have to go in front of the other council to present an award, and I personally just don't want to go over to Augusta and present an award, and I may ask the council to go with me if we don't end up winning. So I'm really looking for folks who can help us from 9 to 11 this Saturday, the 18th, for the first Trash Bash at the board. I hope we'll have a very good turnout and we can win that.
Do we bring our own gloves, trash bags?
Great question. I love that. That's a good question. Somebody's going to be going. So they're going to provide bags, the sticks, and all that. I would bring my own gloves, but everything else will be provided. Thank you.
Now this is based on the number of attendants, not the amount of trash
That's
picked
right,
up,
that's
because
right.
I think
We
our
are
side
gonna-
is way
my
cleaner.
My understanding is they are going to weigh everything, but as far as the winner will be volunteers. Okay, volunteers, so it's very important. And they actually, for folks who have boats, can also go on the river too, besides just walking, okay?
Mine's broke.
So anyway,
I'll borrow one.
last thing I've got is the window to submit ideas for the river event we're going to have next year has closed. We'll be having our first citizen committee meeting this Thursday. The citizens I've asked to participate are David Buck, Landon Ball, and Betsy Davis. All three of these folks have a lot of experience with water and adventure, and quite frankly, each of them personally reached out to me and said, hey, I want to help make our community better. So this group's initial responsibility is to filter all the ideas we got up through August the 31st down to a smaller number of ideas that we're going to send back out to citizens for citizens' vote. So the citizens are going to choose whichever idea they like the best, and that item will be in our budget for 2022 that will have the event next year. On a side note for citizens out there, I'm compiling a list of citizens who have told me they want to serve in some form or fashion. So if you want to be involved, let me know and I'll put you on the list. So as opportunities come available, we know who to reach out to. This collaboration is a big part of this new council's commitment to use the talents and skills of our citizens to help make this town better. So if you are a citizen and you want to be involved in some form or fashion, we may not have a place for you today, but we're going to have events and things happen in the future. We want you to have a say there. So if you're interested, reach out to me and let me get you on that list. So when situations like this come up, I'll have folks like David, Landon, and Betsy who have expressed an interest, who care about North Augusta, that want to be involved. So I'm just real excited about that. And I believe that is the last thing I have for Mayor's Matters. Anything else on your end?
No, sir.
Okay, council, any final comments from anybody?
Go Dogs.
Okay. We stand adjourned. Amen.